I was working I was working at a cafe in the Mare when an American walked in and asked for a coffee to go. I said sure and started making it. He watched me pour it into a small cup. He stopped me and said he meant a large coffee. I told him this is a large. He looked at the cup like I was pranking him. He said that's an espresso size. I explained that French coffee is served in smaller cups because it's stronger. He said he needed at least 16 ounces or he wouldn't make it through the morning. I told him we don't measure in ounces. He asked how much the cup held. I said about 150 milliliters. He stared at me blankly. I said roughly 5 ounces. He asked if I was serious. I nodded. He ordered 3 coffees and poured them into a water bottle he had in his bag. My friend, who works at a bakery near Notre Dame, told me an American came in asking for a plain bagel with cream cheese. She said they don't have bagels. He looked around confused and pointed at the croissants. He asked what those were. She said croissants. He asked if they were like French bagels. She said no, they're croissants. He asked what people eat for breakfast if there are no bagels. She said croissants, bread, pastries. He said that sounded like dessert. She told him that's what French people eat. He left and went to 3 other bakeries looking for bagels. He eventually found a tourist spot that had them. He paid €8 and complained online that Paris charges too much for basic breakfast food. I was standing outside the Louvre when an American family asked me how long the museum takes to see. I said most people spend 3 to 4 hours. The dad said they had 90 minutes. I told him that's not really enough time. He said they just wanted to see the main stuff. I asked what he meant by main stuff. He said the Mona Lisa and whatever else is famous. I explained the Louvre has thousands of pieces. He said they'd just do a quick loop. His wife asked if there was a fast pass like at Disney. I said no. She seemed disappointed. They went in and came out 40 minutes later looking exhausted. The dad said they saw the Mona Lisa but couldn't find the exit. I pointed to the pyramid. He said the museum was bigger than expected. A waiter at a restaurant in Saint-Germain told me about an American who got upset because the check didn't come right after he finished eating. The guy kept looking around, making eye contact, even waving. Nobody brought the check. After 20 minutes, he went to the bar and said he was ready to pay. The waiter said he just needed to ask. The American said he'd been waiting forever. The waiter explained that in France, they don't rush you out. You ask for the check when you're ready. The guy said that's backwards. The waiter said it's actually polite. The guy said it's inconvenient. He paid and left a review saying French restaurants have slow service. This happens all the time. Americans come to Paris expecting it to work like an American city that happens to have old buildings. When it doesn't, they get frustrated. I worked at a bistro in the Latin Quarter. An American ordered a steak and asked for it well done. The chef sent it out medium rare. The customer sent it back. The chef cooked it more. It came back medium. The customer sent it back again. The chef refused to cook it anymore. I had to explain that French chefs don't like to overcook meat. The customer said he was paying for it, so it should be cooked how he wants. I agreed and asked the chef nicely. He eventually made it well done, but you could tell he was offended. The customer cut into it and said it was dry. I didn't say anything. My friend works at a creperie near the Eiffel Tower. An American ordered a crepe and asked for substitutions. She wanted it without butter, with almond milk instead of regular milk, and with sugar-free syrup. My friend said they don't do substitutions. The woman asked why not. He said because the recipe is specific. She said that in America, restaurants customize orders all the time. He said this isn't America. She asked to speak to a manager. The manager said the same thing. She left and posted online that French restaurants aren't accommodating to dietary preferences. The restaurant's response was one sentence: "We make crepes the French way." I was at a wine bar in Le Marais when an American asked the sommelier for a sweet white wine. The sommelier suggested a Sauterne. The guy tasted it and said it was too sweet. The sommelier looked confused. The guy explained he wanted something sweet, but not that sweet. The sommelier offered a demi-sec. The guy said it wasn't sweet enough. The sommelier asked what he usually drinks. The guy said Moscato. The sommelier said they don't carry that. The guy asked why a wine bar in France doesn't have basic wines. The sommelier said Moscato isn't French. The guy said wine is wine. He ended up ordering beer. A server at a cafe told me an American customer asked for a cup of ice water. She brought him water. He said he wanted ice. She brought him ice. He said he meant ice water, like water with ice already in it. She said you can put the ice in the water. He said that's not the same. She asked how it's different. He said the ice melts better when it's already mixed. She told him to mix it himself. He said French service was lacking. She walked away. I worked at a restaurant near the opera. An American asked if we had ranch dressing. I said no. He asked what people put on salads. I said vinaigrette. He said he didn't like vinaigrette. I offered him other dressings we had. He said he really wanted ranch. I explained it's not common in France. He asked if I could make it. I said no. He asked why not. I said, because we don't have the ingredients. He ordered his salad dry and ate it looking miserable. My friend who manages a brasserie said an American family came in at 5 p.m. asking for dinner. She told them the kitchen doesn't open until 7. They asked why. She said, because that's when French people eat dinner. The dad said they eat dinner at 5:30 at home. She said they could come back at 7. He asked if they could just order now and wait. She said the kitchen isn't open. He asked what the cooks are doing if they're not cooking. She said preparing. He said they could prepare his food. She said no. They left and found a tourist restaurant that served dinner at 5. The food wasn't good, but at least it was available. A bartender in Montmartre told me an American ordered a martini. He made it with gin and vermouth. The customer said it tasted wrong. The bartender asked what was wrong with it. The guy said it wasn't sweet. The bartender explained that martinis aren't sweet. The guy said his martinis at home are sweet. The bartender asked what's in them. The guy described an appletini. The bartender said, that's not a martini. The guy said it has martini in the name. The bartender made him an appletini. The guy said French bartenders don't know classic drinks. I was at a pizza place when an American asked if they deliver. The owner said no. The guy asked why not. The owner said they're a sit-down restaurant. The guy said pizza places deliver. The owner said not in Paris. The guy said, that doesn't make sense. The owner shrugged. The guy asked if he could order takeout. The owner said yes. The guy asked what the difference was between delivery and takeout. The owner said with takeout, you come pick it up. The guy said he didn't want to walk back. The owner said then eat here. The guy sat down but kept muttering about how pizza delivery is a basic service. My friend works at a fromagerie. An American came in asking for cheddar cheese. She showed him French cheeses instead. He said he just wanted normal cheese. She said French cheese is normal. He said he meant American cheese. She said they don't have American cheese. He asked how a cheese shop doesn't have cheese. She said they have 50 types of cheese, just not American cheese. He looked at all the options and left without buying anything. He went to a supermarket and bought pre-sliced Gouda. He told his friends that French cheese shops are overrated. I worked at a tourist information office near the Champs-Élysées. An American came in with a map asking why the streets didn't have a grid system. I said Paris streets developed over centuries, so they're not organized in a grid. He said that makes it impossible to navigate. I said, you just learn the landmarks and metro stops. He said American cities are easier because everything is numbered. I told him Paris has arrondissements that spiral outward. He looked at the map, trying to see the spiral. He said it looked random. I gave him a metro map. He said the metro lines curve too much. I suggested using GPS. He said his phone was dead. My friend who drives a taxi told me an American passenger gave him an address and then spent the whole ride saying he was going the wrong way. My friend explained he was avoiding traffic. The passenger said the GPS showed a different route. My friend said he drives in Paris every day and knows the fastest way. The passenger insisted on following the GPS. My friend did. They sat in traffic for 20 extra minutes. The passenger blamed my friend for not knowing the shortcuts. My friend said nothing. A metro worker told me an American got frustrated because the train announcements were in French. He asked if they could switch to English. She said the announcements are always in French. He said Paris is an international city, so they should use English. She said it's a French city. He said everyone speaks English anyway. She said in French. He didn't understand. She repeated it in English. He said that proved his point. She told him the next train was in 5 minutes. He said he didn't know which direction to go. She pointed to the signs. He said the signs are in French. She said they have pictures too. He followed the pictures. I was at a train station when an American asked me how to get to Versailles. I told him to take the RERC. He asked what the RER was. I said it's the regional train. He asked if it was like the metro. I said similar, but it goes farther. He asked how much it cost. I told him the price. He said the metro was cheaper. I said the metro doesn't go to Versailles. He asked why not. I said because Versailles isn't in Paris. He looked confused. He asked how far it was. I said about 12 miles. He said that's not far. I said it's outside the city limits. He asked if he could just take the metro part way. I said no. He bought the RER ticket but seemed annoyed about it. My friend works at a car rental company. An American rented a car and came back an hour later saying he couldn't figure out how to get out of Paris. She asked what the problem was. He said the streets don't make sense. She asked if he had GPS. He said yes, but it kept telling him to make turns he couldn't make. She asked why he couldn't make them. He said because there were cars parked in the way, or the street was one way, or there was construction. She said that's normal for Paris. He asked how people drive here. She said you have to be patient and alert. He said he'd rather take the train. She processed his refund. A hotel concierge told me an American guest asked for directions to the Eiffel Tower. The concierge said it's a 20-minute walk or 1 metro stop. The guest asked if there was a shuttle. The concierge said no. The guest asked if the hotel could arrange a car. The concierge said it would cost more than a taxi for such a short distance. The guest said he didn't want to walk or take the metro. The concierge asked why. The guest said walking 20 minutes seemed far and the metro seemed complicated. The concierge called him a taxi. It cost 15 euros to go 1 mile. The guest tipped the driver 20 euros because he felt bad about the short distance. I was giving directions to an American tourist who asked how to get to Sacré-Cœur. I told him to take the metro to Anvers and then walk up. He asked if there was an elevator. I said no, it's on a hill. He asked how steep. I said pretty steep. He asked if there was a bus that goes to the top. I said yes, the Montmartre bus. He asked if it was free. I said no. He asked how much. I told him. He said he'd just walk. He came back an hour later out of breath and asked why I didn't warn him about all the stairs. I said I told him it was on a hill. He said a hill isn't the same as stairs. I said the hill has stairs. He said, that's important information. My friend who works at a museum told me an American visitor asked why the museum information wasn't available in English. She said there are English pamphlets at the entrance. He said he didn't see them. She walked him back to the entrance and showed him. He said they should be more obvious. She said they're right next to the French ones. He said he assumed everything would be in English. She said it's a French museum in France. He said international tourists need English. She said the pamphlets are translated into 6 languages. He said English should be the default. She handed him the pamphlet. A tour guide told me an American on her group kept asking questions in English, assuming everyone would understand. When French tourists looked confused, he'd just speak louder. The guide told him politely that not everyone speaks English. He said he thought everyone in Paris spoke English. She said many people do, but not everyone. He asked how people communicate. She said in French. He said that seemed exclusionary. She said it's France. He spent the rest of the tour only talking to other Americans. I worked at a pharmacy in the 6th arrondissement. An American came in asking for medicine without a prescription. I explained that certain medicines require prescriptions in France. He said he gets them over the counter at home. I said French regulations are different. He asked if I could just sell him 1 box. I said no. He asked to speak to the pharmacist. The pharmacist said the same thing. He said he really needed it. The pharmacist suggested seeing a doctor. The guy said he didn't have time. The pharmacist said there's a clinic nearby. The guy left and went to 3 other pharmacies asking the same question. My friend who works at a post office told me an American tried to mail a package without waiting in line. He went straight to the counter while 10 people were waiting. My friend told him there's a line. He said he just had a quick question. She said everyone has quick questions. He asked how long the wait was. She said about 20 minutes. He said that's ridiculous for a post office. She said it's lunchtime. He asked why the post office is busy during lunch. She said because people go to the post office during their lunch break. He said that's poor planning. She helped the next person in line. A bank teller told me an American tried to open an account with just his passport. She said he needed proof of address. He said he's staying at a hotel. She said he needs a permanent French address. He asked why. She said it's required by law. He asked how tourists open accounts. She said tourists don't usually open French bank accounts. He said he's staying for 3 months. She said that's still temporary. He asked how he's supposed to access money. She suggested using his American bank card. He said the fees are too high. She said that's between him and his bank. I was at a grocery store when an American asked an employee where the peanut butter was. The employee showed him a small section with 2 brands. The guy said he meant the big selection. The employee said that's all they have. The guy asked why. The employee said peanut butter isn't popular in France. The guy said everyone eats peanut butter. The employee said not in France. The guy bought 1 jar and came back the next day asking if they had more brands. The employee said no. The guy said he'd have to find an international store. My friend works at a gym. An American signed up and then asked why there was no air conditioning. She said the gym has fans and windows. He said he needs AC when he works out. She said they don't use AC much in Paris. He asked why not. She said it's not common in older buildings and people prefer fresh air. He said that's unhealthy. She said millions of Parisians manage. He worked out for 10 minutes and left. He canceled his membership the next day, citing inadequate facilities. A librarian told me an American got upset because the library closed for 2 hours at lunch. He said he needed to use the computer. She said they're closed. He asked if he could just quickly check his email. She said no, they're closed. He asked why they close at lunch. She said so the staff can eat. He said American libraries don't close for lunch. She said this is France. He asked where he was supposed to go. She suggested a cafe with Wi-Fi. He said he shouldn't have to buy something to use the internet. She said the library opens again at 2. He sat outside and waited. I worked at a theater. An American showed up 10 minutes after the show started and expected to be let in. I said seating stops once the performance begins. He said he was only a little late. I said it's disruptive to other patrons. He asked if he could stand in the back. I said no. He asked for a refund. I said tickets are non-refundable. He said that's not fair. I said the showtime was clearly listed. He said traffic was bad. I said he should have left earlier. He demanded to speak to a manager. The manager said the same thing. He left and wrote a review saying the theater was inflexible. My friend who owns a boutique told me an American tried to return an item without a receipt. She said she needed proof of purchase. The woman said she bought it 2 days ago. My friend said she still needs a receipt. The woman said she lost it. My friend said she can't process returns without receipts. The woman said that in America, they just look it up in the system. My friend said they don't have that system. The woman asked how she could prove she bought it there. My friend said with a receipt. The woman left with the item and later disputed the charge with her credit card company. A hair salon owner told me an American walked in asking for a haircut. The owner said they're booked for the day. The guy asked if they could squeeze him in. She said no. He offered to pay extra. She said they don't have time. He asked how long a haircut takes. She said 30 to 40 minutes. He said he'd wait if someone canceled. She said appointments rarely cancel. He asked if he could book for the next day. She checked and said they had an opening at 3 p.m. He said he wanted morning. She said morning was full. He booked for 3 but showed up at 11 hoping they'd take him. They didn't. I was at a laundromat when an American asked me how the machines worked. I explained you put coins in and select a cycle. He asked if they took cards. I said no, just coins. He asked where to get coins. I said from a bank or store. He said he didn't have coins. I said he needed to get some. He asked if I had change for a 20. I said no. He left and came back 30 minutes later with coins. He started the machine and asked how long it takes. I said the timer is on the machine. He said it was in French. I translated. He said French laundromats are more complicated than American ones. I was at a cafe when an American ordered a cappuccino at 3 in the afternoon. The waiter gave him a look but took the order. The guy next to him, a French regular, leaned over and said that in France, people don't drink cappuccinos after 11 a.m. The American asked why. The regular said, it's just not done. The American said coffee is coffee. The regular said milk-based coffee is for breakfast. The American said that didn't make sense. The regular shrugged and went back to his espresso. The American drank his cappuccino defiantly, while everyone in the cafe pretended not to notice. That's what it comes down to. Americans visit Paris expecting it to adapt to them instead of the other way around. They want bigger coffees, earlier dinners, English signs, air conditioning, and ranch dressing. When they don't get these things, they assume Paris is behind the times. They don't consider that maybe Paris just does things differently. I've worked in tourism for 5 years. I've seen thousands of American visitors. Most of them adjust fine once they understand the cultural differences. But there's always a group that refuses to adapt. They spend their whole trip comparing Paris to home and finding Paris lacking. They leave thinking the city was overrated. The funny part is that Parisians don't really care. They've been doing things their way for centuries. They're not going to change because tourists find it inconvenient. If you want big portions and customizable orders and 24-hour service, go somewhere else. Paris is Paris. And that's actually what makes it interesting. If Paris worked exactly like an American city, there'd be no point in visiting. The whole reason people come here is because it's different. But then they get upset when it's actually different in ways that affect them. My advice to American tourists is simple. Research before you go. Learn basic French phrases. Understand that meals take longer and stores close for lunch, and you can't substitute ingredients. Accept that you're a guest in someone else's country, and their way of doing things isn't wrong, just different. But most people don't take that advice. They show up with their American expectations and spend 2 weeks frustrated. Then they go home and tell everyone that Paris isn't as great as people say. Meanwhile, Paris continues being Paris, completely unbothered by their opinions. I'll keep working in this city. I'll keep helping confused tourists figure out the metro. I'll keep explaining why coffee comes in small cups and checks don't arrive automatically. And I'll keep collecting stories about Americans who tried to use US logic in a place where it doesn't apply. Because honestly, these stories never stop coming. Every week there's a new one. Someone tries to tip at McDonald's. Someone asks if the Louvre takes Venmo. Someone complains that French people speak French. It's endless, and it's always entertaining. Paris isn't going to change, so maybe it's time for visitors to adjust.